This video is going to look at internment in Northern Ireland in 1971. So a bit of background then. So 1971, obviously a very difficult year in Northern Ireland. Violence had been rising rapidly following the creation of the Provisional IRA and their much more militant and brutal campaign. On top of that, there you have the backlash then from loyalists who are killing lots and lots of people as well. But there's one man who seemed to have the solution, and this person was Northern Ireland Prime Minister Brian Faulkner. And Brian Faulkner has a clear idea of the way forward. So his way forward is internment. So Faulkner proposed the use of this internment, arresting those suspected of involvement in terrorism and holding them without trial. And his Unionist Party were desperate to get this pushed through. They felt that this was the answer to all the problems. It had actually worked before in the 1950s during what was called the Border Campaign, but that was very, very different to what people faced in the 1970s. The 1950s, they knew who the Republican groups were, who the key players were, and it was much, much smaller, with a greater amount of intelligence as well. But they felt this is the way to go. So what you have is Operation Demetrius. This begins on the 9th of August 1971. The British Army were used in dawn raids to arrest suspects. Now, the British Army weren't very eager, it has to be said, to get involved in internment. They knew that the intelligence was out of date, but they had to obey the Unionists at this time. The Unionists, by the way, are actually using the Special Powers Act. This is part of the Special Powers Act that they actually have and can make use of. So what actually happened? Well, internees were sent to internment camps like Long Kesh and McGilligan. These became very famous. 452 men were arrested, all of which were Catholic. There were no Protestants arrested until much later. So what was the effectiveness of internment? Well, all the 452 men arrested obviously were Catholic, despite a massive loyalist campaign of violence at the same time. The first loyalist was not interned until 1973. And most of those arrested were civil rights supporters or members of the official IRA, but not the provisional IRA. Intelligence was clearly out of date and not taken into account. And it didn't actually include the newer, younger members of the more militant provisional IRA. So what were the reactions then? Well, Faulkner tried to defend internment. He tried to insist, look, it's not sectarian, but it was aimed at trying to stop the violence. Unionists were initially supportive as well, but the subsequent increase in violence because of internment made them question its effectiveness. Violence rocketed. It's very clear this was like pouring petrol onto a fire. From 30 deaths, it rose to 143 deaths in the rest of 1971. Clearly, this had actually provoked rather than decreased any trouble. Nationalists are deeply angry. They felt it was clearly a sectarian policy. They urged rent and rates strikes, and they pulled out of local councils in protest. Republicans benefited from the anger among Catholics because membership of the Provisional IRA in particular rocketed. And then marches. Well, NICRA started to march again against internment, and at one march at McGilligan, they were attacked by the army, by the parachute regiment, with the use of CS gas. And Bloody Sunday was another anti-internment march with clearly fatal results. Many thanks for watching.